Trudy Talks. I am really happy to be back. I hope you guys are doing well. And as always, I'm just really glad that you are tuning in to this week's episode. I missed you guys last week. Yeah, I wasn't doing too much talking, but I am back. All is well. I have healed very well. And yeah, we are back to have a chat about a few different things. First of all, I will say I haven't left the house very much the last couple of weeks, not mostly because I got my tooth out, but also because the weather here, I reckon, is akin to Hades. We're talking like 33, 34. As soon as you walk out of the house, your skin is wet. It is so humid. So you can't really go out. You definitely can't do yard work, which seriously, I really need to get out to my garden. It's definitely good for the old noggin. Head, for those of you who don't understand what that is. You get a lot of Northern Irishisms here on this channel, and I'm guessing mostly only Northern Irish people will understand it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please put a question down in the comments, and I will do my best to explain some of our very odd phrasing in Northern Ireland. There are so many words that I am picking up here in America that you really can't help yourself. You just kind of start using things like yard work. I think I've already did that. So yeah, what we'd say is we're going to do the garden in Northern Ireland, but yeah, I do yard work here. It's great. Gotta tell you, I love all the isms that I get to use in America because I just love living here. And I've said before that I watch a lot of YouTube, and there is some crazy stuff. There's always been crazy stuff in mainstream media, but there is some crazy stuff on YouTube, hence a little bit of crazy stuff, but I'm okay. I'm okay with it. It's been a weird kind of couple of weeks. It has been a bit strange. Just lots of things kind of going on that you're thinking about. Yeah, it has been so hot that you can't go out, so you're in the house a lot. This is not a therapy session, don't panic. But there has just been a lot to think about. A lot of conversations have happened that really changed a lot of the way I think about loads of things. I've been watching some really brilliant things on TV. I love to watch TV. I've never made apology for that. I think one of the reasons I love being in America so much is because as a teenager, I loved movies. I was a big movie fan. I don't think anybody can beat this, but I did watch Dirty Dancing 47 times. And I kept track of it because I just was so proud of that stat. Still sort of am. But I loved Dirty Dancing. Loved Patrick Swayze. But all those movies that I watched growing up, The Goonies, She's All That was in the 90s. Just all these movies as a teenager, I got to see like life in America, and of course everybody thinks that, you know, the grass is always greener somewhere else, and you kind of look at Northern Ireland and you think, oh, their lives look amazing over there, and nobody's life is completely amazing. Well, I think mine is now, to be honest, but nobody's life is absolutely perfect. But I used to just have this longing to be here where I am now, where I get to be every day, and I'm still really excited by that. But I've been watching the Billy Joel documentary, which came out last week. I think I'm on the second episode right now. I have always been a Billy Joel fan. I would say that a lot of my musical influence came from my dad. My mom wasn't that big into music, but my dad really was, and I have like these vivid memories of him sort of dancing in the house to things like Super Trooper by ABBA on our record player. There was Julio Iglesias, loved a wee bit of Julio, so he did. Stevie Wonder, loved Stevie Wonder, and Billy Joel. Billy Joel was a big one in our house, And throughout the years, I heard so much Billy Joel, and I just loved it. I loved sort of his 70s stuff, The Stranger, and Just the Way You Are, things like that. Just like his main stuff. I just always loved Billy Joel, and I think it's due to the fact that I love lyrics. I've always loved lyrics. Yes, I love drums and bass. I love a melody that kind of has you singing and it stays in your head. But I'm a big lyric person. I listen to the lyrics first. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear the story, and it's a lot of the reasons why I like some of the artists that I like. So I've been watching this documentary about Billy Joel, and it has reminded me of my dad a lot. I suppose because he, like I said, he is the one that introduced me to music. I would say he probably still does somewhere, the greatest male singing voice that I've ever heard. And like, I'm a fan of male vocalists, but this guy could sing. My dad could sing, and I think he passed a little bit of it down to probably all three of his kids. My brother's sort of the quiet one. He wouldn't do much singing. It's the quiet one. I'm hardly loud. But yeah, we all sing a little bit, and sorry, Mum, that's definitely from him. And I'm grateful for that. It's strange because over the last couple of weeks I've really started to think in lots of different ways about lots of different things. And I never, when I was in therapy for the religious trauma that I had suffered over so many years, I thought surely I was going to have to talk about childhood stuff and all that kind of jazz. But the strange thing was that I didn't have that to talk about to my therapist, and that was never the thing that damaged me the most. And it's incredibly sad when you think about that, whenever you know that the place that you went to for that safety and that love and that that community, that family, that being a part of something was actually the place that damaged me the most. You start to realize that you could have had a lot worse growing up. And it's interesting how that works, and really, really sad, because it's just supposed to be a representation of Jesus, and it really, really, really wasn't. I didn't expect so much from somebody who didn't outwardly profess to love Jesus and then treat me badly. It was the people that outwardly professed to love and know Jesus and treat me so badly that it would take therapy for 10 years in my 40s to unravel some of the damage. So yeah, lots of thoughts and lots of things this week. I'm sure I'm not making a lot of sense as usual, but this is what you get here. I just am talking, and it's a place for me to talk. I suppose it is a little bit like therapy, because I just get to talk and about the things that are going on with me, and I like to do it. I like to connect to you guys. Moving on to some really crappy stuff, which we weren't really surprised. I'm certainly not surprised to hear it, but last night there was an article that Julie Roy's brought out, and it was talking about Michael Tait again, which none of us want to talk about. No harm to anybody. Nobody wants to talk about you anymore. You are an absolute abusive waste of space, and I have nothing to say other than that. This is not a guy who did one thing wrong and then we were like, slap on the wrists, God will forgive you, let's move on. This guy has been a sexual predator for over 30 years. And the reason we know that now is because that two men have alleged that Michael Tait sexually aided them during his DC Talk years. Sorry, guys. During the DC Talk years. And nobody's really surprised to hear that, because people do not start something like that when they get to be in their 30s, 40s. They've been doing that long before that. And nobody ever finds it a surprise when we hear that their abuse has been going on much longer. It's just, you're just waiting on it, because they have to start somewhere. So they have started somewhere when they have escalated to the point that they get to. And these really brave victims have come out to talk about what happened to them when he was still in DC Talk. And they are talking about what happened with them. I'm not going to read all of it to you guys, because you can do that yourself on julieroyce.com. But basically, they talk about how it has wreaked havoc on their personal lives. And as their careers spiraled downwards due to the trauma and everything that had happened to them, Tait spiraled up. And this is the kind of stuff that just blows my mind. One of them, Randall Crawford, a Christian songwriter, and his friend Jason Jones, the founding manager of American hard rock band Evanescence. If you've ever heard of them, I'm sure you have. They were big in the kind of early 2000s, and they revealed all to The Guardian in the report about their former friend, Michael Tait. And they confided similar allegations to the Roy's report. It's the first time this year in 25 years since the incident that I've said that he R-ed me. I'll just put it like that. Like, this is... He said, I was at the height of my career. I got Grammy nominated. I won a Dove. And I got signed to a major label. And I couldn't enjoy any of that. I had to really bury it deep down. And plus, I've known him since 1989. He was my brother, is what he said. So again, you have this. It's not just the act, which is just the most horrific and awful part of it, but it's the betrayal. It's the... You see somebody as your brother or a father figure or someone that you genuinely love. You feel like you genuinely love them, and then you know when that betrayal happens that not only what happens, the action that happens, but you also have this sense of, like, how could you not have seen it? Or how could this have happened when this person is supposed to love you because you love them? And it's like this. There's just like so many layers to abuse that are so hard to unravel. It's so hard to unravel. And I just have so much respect for these people that come out to tell their story, because it's really painful to do it. But and I can only talk for myself, but actually being able to speak about it is and has been a massive part of my healing in the last kind of couple of years, but specifically on here, to be able to say the things that I have needed to say for 10 years is really important. It's really, really important. Yeah, he first met Tait when DC Talk were filming their debut music for Heavenbound in Nashville. The two quickly hit it off, and for a decade they were inseparable. During this time, Jason Jones moved to Nashville to manage Crawford's band. Crawford introduced Jones to Tait, and then the 18-year-old was welcomed into their group of friends. The relationship gave him unlimited opportunities in Nashville, and for the burgeoning group he was creating called Evanescence. But even then, Jones told The Guardian it was common for Tait to randomly grab men's... I had this band that I was trying to take places, he told The Guardian. Tait had the power to open doors for us in the industry. So I went along with whatever, but didn't know what it would cost me. It was also common for the friendship group to party at Tait's house, as the group smoked marijuana, drank alcohol, and used a hot tub. Unnamed sources say there was no clothes allowed rule. Yeah, as Tait did lots of different things to the water jets. Anyway, as Tait's success grew during the rise of DC Talk, so did his bravado. For a while, Crawford told TRR he tried to protect Tait from public scrutiny and cautioned him from acting out. In 1995, Tait drove through the grounds of his alma mater, Liberty University, that joyous, joyous university, and was pulled over by campus security for speeding. Yet even then, Tait wasn't held responsible for his behaviour, and they laughed and asked for autographs. Wow. There's nothing odd about any of this. After they left, Michael turned to me, calm as ever, and said, "I can do anything and not get in trouble," Crawford said to The Guardian. He also tried to keep Tait from kissing men when they were out partying. If Tait's homosexuality became public knowledge, it would have caused an early burial for DC Talk and their conservative audience. So what they'll do is they'll lie to us instead. They'll lie to themselves, they'll lie to their fans, they'll lie to everyone. And it was a they, it was not a he. I didn't say it the last time I talked about this, but as of today, and as far as I am aware, Toby Mac has not made any kind of statement in regards to any of the allegations against his former bandmate and I dare say friend. They've definitely talked about their friendship over the years, and they've worked together, and there has not been a thing said by Toby Mac or can't remember his name, Kevin Max. Remembered it there. Just came back to this old perimenopausal brain. There hasn't been anything from Kevin Max as well. And I know if I think I'm correct in saying that Kevin Max has deconstructed his own faith over the years and would not kind of refer to himself as a Christian anymore. But he definitely can have something to say on this. And I'm sure that he has his own story as to why he is the person he is today. Also, there are so many victims involved in this story, and I am sure we're going to find some more. But for anyone who has covered this up and known about it for years and allowed more young men, and in regards to even the last story where he was involved in a young woman having an SA against her, this guy was doing this stuff and you knew, and if you knew, which we know you did, you just can't walk away from that. Your lack of holding somebody accountable has opened the door for countless more victims, and that's not okay. That's just not okay. He felt like he was invincible, Crawford told TRR. He's like, "Don't worry about it, Crawford, I got this." He's like a car salesman. I felt like I had to defend him. Both Crawford and Jones' relationship with Tait took a turn in 1998 after Tait's father died. Tait became like a wild child, they said, and he was self-destructive. His partying increased, and so did his danger to his friends. Wow, awesome. Jason Jones' story, he talks about how he was SA'd in 1998. He told The Guardian that they were drinking alcohol at Tait's house after he had finished rehearsals for DC Talks Supernatural Tour. Oh, come on. Feeling tired, he told The Guardian that Tait invited him to sleep in his bed. He later believed that he was drugged. I remember when this album came out. It was my favourite DC Talk album. There was a song on it called Consume Me, and I played that song on repeat to the annoyance of anyone who got into my car, which I didn't care. I just loved this song. The melody was beautiful. The words were about just wanting so much of God and for him to consume your life, and just to it was just this incredible song. And even over the years as I've gone on, like, I haven't listened to their albums loads, But like if I was making a playlist, consuming normally made its way onto that playlist in some way, shape, or form. And um, that's all I have to say about that now. It was a great album. Yeah, he later believed that he was drugged. He soon passed out, and when he woke up, yeah, you can go read that one yourself. I'm not sharing that one. Jail time, Michael Tait. That's what you deserve. Jail time. Along with so many stories that I have heard. This is not poor wee Christian. Oh, what was going on in his life? He lost his father. It's okay for him to mend and do what he was doing. It's okay. Grief does that to a person. He does need to be held accountable for his behaviour. Absolute bull crap. Like, this is not okay. It's not acceptable. Statutes of limitations. People, come on. We all know that it takes such a long time for victims to get to the point where they can actually speak out about these things because the damage is so intense. I don't know why he's not in prison yet. I don't know why he hasn't been charged yet, but it's got to be coming. It has got to be coming because I know there has been other lawsuits brought in and around Newsboys and the people who owned Newsboys. What the flip? And honestly, if I had my way, to see the people that knew about it, the people that covered up, the people that give false grace to this man and countless others, they have got to pay for this too because you have caused and opened the door, like I said, for so much more abuse. I'm not going to talk about any more to do with Michael Tait, other than I'm guessing that I could just keep talking about this guy for probably months, years coming up, and I'll maybe touch on it at some point. But yeah, I don't want to talk about him all the time because yeah, there's no way to possibly understand it. I think a lot of the time I have this way of thinking about what happened with me. I think about the people involved. I think about where my role was in it in regards to what I allowed. And well, to be honest, that's really what I did most of the time for the first 5 years. I've read a lot of things recently, and as I said in my short last week, that I watched Shiny Happy People season 2, and if you haven't seen it on Amazon Prime, make sure you go and check it out. It's a really tough watch. Well, actually, sorry, it was a really tough watch for my husband. For me, I literally sit like this. Yep, that seems about right. That's pretty much how I react to those things now. Because I've spent so much time realizing that the stuff that I thought was acceptable and normal, now when I look at it and see it, you're going, what the flip? How can I have thought this was normal? How can I have thought this was like normal human behavior? Because it clearly is not normal human behavior. But I knew the Bible so well, and I think the thing with that is that because I knew it so well, that I remember it loads. So when I'm trying to whenever I'm going over things in my head, or I'm watching things and people are talking about the Word of God, and they're using the Word of God to explain behavior, and they're using the Word of God to kind of show this how this behavior is okay, I tend to kind of go back to it and go, okay, so we think it was all right that people did this kind of behavior because they said this. So I go to my Bible and kind of, well, I don't go to my Bible. The truth is, I do not go to my Bible, but I remember it. And I remember how it was used, and I remember the scriptures that made me feel like I could not live up to what was expected of me. And I know that there is a lot of people that felt a lot of guilt and shame in Christian circles, and I certainly was one of those people. I felt inadequate from the first second that I walked into the church that I walked into, and I felt inadequate where my education was concerned. I was working a full-time job at 17 in civil service, but yet there was still this sense of I didn't go to university. So if I didn't go to university, I must not be very smart. Yeah, I'm okay. I do all right. But I always read. I love to educate myself. Again, I am not a psychologist. I am not a therapist. I have read a lot because I really like to read. I have a ridiculous amount of books on psychology. I have a ridiculous amount of books on sociology, just human behavior. I have a ridiculous amount of books on that, but that does not make me a license to anything. I have not done the work that these people have to do. It just means that I was trying to educate myself to understand what was going on with me and to help me heal, and it did. A lot of those things helped me heal. But yeah, I felt inadequate from the minute that I stepped foot in that place, and a couple of times I actually tried to go back to kind of do A levels and things like that, and I never wanted to do it for myself. I wanted to do it to prove that I was smart. Turns out I don't really need to prove that I'm smart. I just am me. I'm really happy being me. And yeah, I've watched and seen enough people who did not go on to study and do those things that have become and done incredible things in this world. So like, it took a while for me to get there from being 19, but yeah, nowadays I'm more than happy with the person that I am. I've been more than happy with the person I am for a long time. But being in an environment like that was not the best at the age that I was. I just chose not to take it out on anybody else. Because that's what you're supposed to do as a human. You're just not supposed to do that. I feel like this is just like this is real baby stuff. This is like kid stuff. If I have to tell you have to tell your kids, if you're angry, don't take it out on other people. Like this, like, should we have to tell adults that? I don't think so, but we do. We still do. If you have an issue, deal with your own issue. It is not my issue. Ah, dear. I'm just going to say something about bad language. I am going to say something about bad language. I never felt the need to use bad language. What I would say is that whenever I was 11 and I kind of gave my life to Jesus, at that time at 11, I had a bit of a messy mouth before that. I would have said a couple of bad words and things like that when I was with my friends and thought it was really cool and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, like, the week after I had, like, given my life to Jesus at 11, I was walking, like, from my house down into the town in Donaghadee, and I realised that for a few days I hadn't said any bad words. And then I never did again. I never felt the need to say bad words. I didn't have to train myself. It wasn't something that I just never felt the need to do it, and I never did it. I just didn't feel the need to do it, and I never did throughout like 30 years of my life. And then I started to have therapy and start to heal from the stuff that was going on. And I started to have to be able to put words to my pain and my trauma. And I realized that normal words, like regular type words, were not, like, they weren't strong enough. They genuinely could not say what I needed to say about the pain. So they became words that were like, not so that I could sound cool or say bad words. It just was this sense of, and I don't go around effing and blanking. My kids don't hear me swear, and I don't swear on a regular basis. I will say, and I'm sure there are a lot of trauma victims that do this and then maybe come from a religious background. I think in bad words sometimes because when you're thinking things through, or I think about somebody, sometimes the word will just come into my head afterwards. And it's my way of dealing with the fact that there was nothing strong enough in my language to be able to explain the pain, the hurt, or at one point the anger. And the anger thing is a real odd one for me because I'm not an angry person. It's not my natural go-to be angry. And I think I've said that before. I've always kind of managed my anger in a way that was quite healthy. You know, I didn't feel the need to lose it on anybody, nothing like that. But there was a season during my healing when for the first time I felt this anger, and it was a righteous anger as opposed to just a downright rage. It was just this anger at what had taken place. And I'd never got the anger because I had spent the whole time looking inwardly at what I'd done wrong. And it took so long for me to come out of that. It took so long for me to stop blaming the fact that I was alive or who I was or everything about myself. You know, that second time that people come to you, and I told the story, you know, 2 weeks ago of what had happened at 19 for me when we first came to that place. But at 35, 36, 35, when that's happening again, there's just no way there's no way at 35 being a married mother of 2 young children to understand what you've done so wrong. It's just such a mind fart. The other word's what I'm thinking. That's literally what it is. It just is, it's too much. So I'd spent so much time, my goodness, just trying to figure out how I must be so horrific. How as a person I just must be horrendous. And it's a reason why I still am surprised that I'm here, and I've said it before. But as I got therapy and I think I'm really grateful that my body actually started to play up. I think it's probably the best way to say it. Again, I don't know why I offset. I hate those people that just cry for no reason, but it just starts to come up, and then I'll deal with it and we move on. When my body started to play up, when my body started to show the signs of trauma, because, and I say it again, and I'll always say it, it keeps the score of these things. When my body started to just get to the point where it couldn't do it anymore, my physical body, then I then had to start to deal with everything. And I will say this, when I ended up in hospital because I'd had headaches like constantly for 3 weeks, I don't know whether they thought that I had some kind of brain tumor or what it was, but even at that point, that was in like 2021. Even at that point, I lied to one of my abusers and said that the reason that I was there was because of PTSD from something else. And that wasn't why I was, the trauma was coming out of my body. It wasn't it. It had played a part, but it wasn't the trauma that had, it wasn't the trauma that caused all the damage. It was just an overflow of what was left of me to not be able to manage with the situation that arose in regards to my son's health. Excuse me. But I felt the need to lie about that because I didn't want them, I don't know, I didn't want them to know. I didn't want them to have the opportunity to deny or pretend that they had nothing to do with anything. So I lied about it. Even to them, you know, in their false caring, when they sent a text message, and it was false caring because you don't betray people that you love, and you don't you don't get rid of people that you love, you get rid of people that you were using. And that's the truth of that. But it took me a really long time to harden to this kind of behavior. It took a really long time for me not to give people the benefit of the doubt. It took a really long time, and it took a healing for me to realize that I just kept taking hit after hit, even after I'd left it all. So I lied about that. I lied about what was causing me that trauma. So yeah, my body had started to kick into all that, and I really credit my body doing that with the ability for me to start a new part of my healing and to be where I am today. And I think people don't realize that you can tell your story and still feel like you've healed so much. And I know that from things like triggers not being as intense anymore, seeing things and not having real heightened emotion to it, you know, being able to kind of see it and go, okay, yeah, I understand this. I don't think I'll ever be 100% healed, but you won't, because I talked about it last time. You know, use these neural pathways that I'm still kind of rebuilding. And I would say that living in America has really helped me with that. I feel so sorry for the people that still have to be in the country and deal with their abusers on a regular basis. You know, still see them, still have to be around them, like still have that fear of bumping into them. And that's a real fear. Because what people don't realize is that sometimes you'll bump into somebody that has caused you such damage, such trauma, and for the rest of the day you'll not be able to function very well, and they probably love that. But you can't function very well, or you have a panic attack, or you're scared to leave your house in case you have to bump into the people that have caused so much trauma in your life. And that's a lot. And I did that for 8 years, and it's a lot. And I really feel for those people that still have to be around those people, and they still have to watch while their abusers are platformed, and they still have to watch while they heal and get therapy and do their best to continue being kind, honest humans in a pigsty of a institution. That's probably the best way to say it. Well, I think I genuinely have talked enough today. I have talked a lot. My mouth is a little bit sore for talking, because I don't do a lot of talking. I have picked up a book actually that I'd seen on Julie Roy's. So I'm currently reading Not So Sorry by Kaya Oakes. Abusers, False Apologies, and the Limits of Forgiveness. It's a good read. So I'm currently reading that one. I'll let you know how that one goes. I take my time. I read a lot of things at once. I always have done, because that's like what I feel like reading at the minute. So I don't always feel like reading about stuff like that. I don't always feel like watching stuff like that. I really like a lot of comedy. I watch things like Superstore, which is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I absolutely adore. If you've never watched Superstore, start watching it. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest things ever. Love it. Rewatch it. We also love The Middle, because we do live in the middle now. We've watched that series, like 7 series or 9. Maybe there's 9 series in that. We literally have watched them 3 or 4 times from series 1 to series 9. Unbelievable. It's just, but sometimes you just need to find funny things to watch, and it helps you. The other book I'm reading is this: Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. Light reading. I love a wee bit of light reading. My my family laugh at me about being a conspiracy theorist. I am not really a weirdo conspiracy theorist. It's easy for me to say. Um, but I do think there's aliens. Genuinely, I do. If you've never watched The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, you need to watch it. Now, saying that, like, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist, but I am open to learning. I'm always open to learning. And what are the chances that there wasn't other things created? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you on that bombshell. Trudy believes in aliens. She does. Anyway, I'm gonna go. If you have enjoyed this crazy rant, or my content is something that you feel like you connect with in some way, please make sure that you hit a like on it. Subscribe if you don't want to miss an episode, and yeah, hit that bell. That'll make sure that you don't. But until next week, yeah, I hope that you stay safe, and yeah, I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.